Perhaps you've seen it. Maybe in a dream. A murky, forgotten land.
Hello there, Seraph17 once again. This is my final episode of Dual Whip PvP in Dark Souls 2, and as you can see, I'm fighting a guy called Yami Tamashu, who, if you've never heard of this dude, he makes some really fun Dark Souls videos. I haven't seen any of his Dark Souls 2 stuff, but I no doubt he'll be making them, and this is the first of 2 fights that I have with this player. So, before anybody says anything, because I don't like when people get disrespectful against other uploaders all that much. Like, regardless of who wins these fights between me and this guy, like, it doesn't make anybody the worse a player or anything along those lines. Like, people seem to get this impression that when you beat somebody who's well known that they're not as good as they are, or anything along those lines. And I'll just leave it as this. Anybody can beat anybody on any given day in Dark Souls PvP, and it's the same on Dark Souls 2. And that's one of the reasons that makes the game so enjoyable to play. Here is a dragon who's got a buffed katana, a buffed sword, and I get a quick backstab on them, and then we move on to the bridge, which is my least favourite arena. And this guy has got dual, is it cestus, or is he just using his hands? Oof. So if you ever see anybody dual wielding the gloves, the hands, or even just the cestus, it's a pretty strong setup because it's really good at stun locking. And this guy's got a side Evelyn, which, you know, a lot of people will disagree with because the Evelyn is getting a lot of bad press because it is pretty fucking insanely powerful for what it is. And I'm introducing this guy to the notion of being able to hit him through the wall, which is one of the awesome things afforded to the whip. So that's kind of cool. But, you know, this bridge turns up all the time, and I wish I could control it a little bit better. But this is a really fun person who I came up against. They're using, it is resonant weapon on a falchion, but you know, it's a weapon you don't see too often. They're not wearing a lot of armor. They're using pyromancies you don't see, and I fall off the bridge, which happens a lot and is really annoying. Here is our dual wield friend, and he's trying to get me in those pretty nasty, you know, multi-hit punches. Have you noticed how this guy's got a blue aura? I'm not entirely sure what ring gives you that aura or what it does. If anybody is, you know, more educated than me on that particular function, I would love you to share it in the comments. Because one of the things that really pisses me off about the official guide that I bought, like, there's a lot of cool things in the book and it's a really nice collector's piece, but it literally tells you nothing more about weapons, items and rings than the fucking game does. Like, when you look at the descriptions, it tells you the descriptions of the ring, and I really thought it would have given you some kind of personalised blurb on what it does, why it's useful, you know, what combinations it can be used in effect, and it just doesn't. And I think it's, I'm not going to say it's lazy, because I understand there's a lot of hard work that goes into it, but there's a lot of stuff that is literally just pulled directly from the fucking game, and if you own the game, why do you want to see it again? Like, the descriptions themselves don't even tell you what the things do. I just found it really frustrating, and it stemmed from the very first instance of when I noticed it, which is when I looked at the mundane stone, you know, information on the upgrade part, and the guide literally tells you nothing about how mundane works, and the only thing I can think of is they didn't know how it worked at the time, so they couldn't put it in, because, you know, there were a lot of people working on that book, and there's just certain areas where you think, well, that's wrong, because there's so many mistakes in the guide. It's still an awesome piece of kit. There's a lot of problems. Speaking of problems, when somebody's using dual Evelyns, you know, you're in for a fun fight. And I'll never understand this kind of build. I'll never understand this kind of mentality or this kind of player. And I bump into them a lot because it's such a skill-less, you know, effortless technique of getting really fast wins. It just doesn't make any sense. And then they bow and stuff, and wave and taunt like they've done something impressive, which I suppose they killed you in a video game, and some people think that's impressive. Oh, here we go. This is a guy that looks like he's having some fun. But once again, look, resonant weapon. You know, the buff that everybody and the mum and dad's using. But this guy did have an offhand whip, so I'll give him some credit for that one, as I hit him with a big old pyromancy and call it a day. Oh, look who it is, folks. We've got Wiener Dog again, our best friend. And I can't remember if this guy sent any messages. I don't think he did, which I was surprised because I bumped into this dude quite a lot, and after that first fight, you know, it just, every fight afterwards was really funny because he's just going for them heals, going for them jugs, just drinking through the pain. And I'm going to bring the pain as best I can with, you know, dual whips on his massively scaling armor. But he's got the King's Shield out, so he's looking to maybe fight a little bit better. But look, it's funny because I always think with this that the amount of time people spend running away, they could have got a hit in, a combo in, and won. Like, just because you have low life does not mean you're done. You can kill anybody on low life, you know, it's just how the game works. But people get into this defensive status of trying to go somewhere when they get low. And I don't really understand it in the arena. I understand it in invasions, maybe, because an invasion is a little bit different. But in this place, where you literally get put the same place you stood to get in here, seems really bizarre to me. Almost as bizarre as this. Like, Dark Souls 1 made a pretty steep statement against heavy armor, fast rolling. And then Dark Souls 2 went and did the exact same thing again. That guy has full havels, and he is rolling just as fast as me. Just not quite as far as I roll. And, like, if you don't disagree with that, you're probably not a Dark Souls 1 player, because they changed it for a reason. This is an interesting fight. The sword that this person is using is either the Defender Greatsword or it's a Claymore. You can't really tell because of the insane amount of buffs it's got going there at the moment. Wow, did you see that? Did that roll look like the... Oh, my bad, guys. I thought it looked like the Darkwood Grain Ring front flip. It was just a little bit too fast, and I assume my eyes, like, interpolated it wrong. Yeah, here's a guy using Sunlight Spear, so wow, this guy's got a lot of faith. That being said, he's not buffing, and he's not, you know, using any other miracles, so maybe he's either spread really thin, or he just wants to really use the Crescent Arcs. But this is another instance where I should try the guard break, but a lot of the times when I try it, it doesn't work. There's your Wog. Hey, well. That's one of the reasons why I believe that Wog was patched, but you know, I hit him, it didn't stagger him, and I paid the price. You can't say it any clearer than that. But once again, as I mentioned in a previous video, I do think a lot of the miracles all have the same casting animation, and it makes it incredibly difficult to punish them. And I'll never really understand that. They should all be unique, so as soon as somebody starts moving, you know what they're doing. You know, that's the sign of a good player who can spot techniques. But on this game, because everything does look so fucking similar, good luck, because you just kind of can't. But this guy is wearing the Velstadt armor. Oh, Velstadt, and watch this! Fucking range on the Firestorm. Like, I thought we were having a pretty good fight until that Firestorm just neutralized everything. I'm curious too if they got rid of the Phantom backstabs, because I've backstabbed somebody for over 2,300 damage with that whip, and I know that's not right. He was wearing good armor too, which just goes to show that Phantom critical thing really fucking dumb. So here's a puncher, and you'll notice he's got an upgraded aura, so he's obviously either playing around, or he's not on the build or on the setup that got him the aura, which might be these dual greatswords, because I love seeing stuff like this. Like, when you lose to somebody doing this, it's fun. Like, if you win, it's probably even more fun if you like winning, but like, you can't be angry against somebody who's using that kind of setup. You can be a little more angry at the fists, because I do think the fists are a little stun lock happy. But when somebody pulls two huge swords out, you know they're having fun. And I think a lot of people have forgot that about, you know, some of the competitive aspects of these games. It just gets to that point where if they don't kill you in 2 hits, they're just not enjoying themselves. So he does heal, which, you know, I'm not the biggest fan of. And then I fall off because I hate that level. And it's still a good fight, regardless of the end. This is a Marakumo player. I take a big hit from the Marakumo then, but you'll notice it didn't do that much damage, considering it was probably a counter hit. Let's ever see what he's doing. Comes in for the roll attack. The problem with that roll attack is it's slow, and it covers more distance than you'd think it would. Like, the delay on recovering after a roll and going into a roll attack is so fucking long that you barely hit people with it unless you pull it really early. And that can be tough to do. And I don't know why I like smacked my lips like a toad just then when I said pull. I got all excited in the mouth. But I swap out to the Pyromancy. At this moment in time, I've not realised that I'm able to Pyromancy cancel, because I thought the Forbidden Sun was such a fast animation it wouldn't let you do it. But one of the reasons I do this is to try and get people worried about Pyromancy. Like, a better setup if you're not dual wielding is to have the Pyromancy Flame on the entire time, because just because you have it on and you're not using it gives it that extra psychological element because they don't know what to look for. And you'll notice I've swapped to a Dark Drift, which is the invisible katana or the translucent katana, because my whip broke. And I've got a side katana for those particular instances. And this person is in massive defense mode at this point because they're a hit away from death. And you know, sometimes I think, is it really worth all the evasions? Like, if you get the win, I think it's obviously worth it, but there are times when, like, don't you just feel like you're evading for the sake of evading? Sometimes going down on the shield is more exciting, but, you know, I'm a very particular kind of player, and I don't really care too much if I lose, as long as it looks good. But this guy's using the Bow of Want, and he does a me, so I kept that one in just so I could show you that it's not just me that falls off this bloody bridge. And this is a good one. Anybody who's followed the full series, you'll remember I keep on bumping into Virtued Viper. I think I killed this guy like 40 times, easily, and I've cut most of them out. But this particular instance, because I spotted him, I decided to put some gear on, and I tried to do what he was doing with his build. But unfortunately, I don't think I had the stats to dual wield. Yeah, look, I can't use my rapiers, so I can't do what he's doing. And I end up putting on a rapier I can't use. So I have to swap to a katana. But I had a little bit of fun, you know. I thought I'd kind of give him, you know, the opportunity to have a silly fight with me, because he was being a really good sport. Like, it was brutal. It was really brutal, some of the fights we've been having. And if you've never used, the dual rapiers, they're actually really good. Like, I didn't think that they looked all that impressive because it just seems to be people spamming that poke, but they're a lot better than I thought they were when I used them. And here is the old favourite. Here is a Wiener for life guy, or Healers are us, as I like to call him. And yeah, another quick death, and probably a taunt. Oh no, no taunt. This is Yami again. Yami turned up. I bumped into him about an hour later. This time I don't think he's buffed the sword this time, he's just got it standard. Comes in for a running attack and then follows it up with a quick hit and takes a big slam. Gets me in the stun lock. And then pulls out a Falcon with a side staff. And pretty much pieces me up really well. GG, brother. And there's another awesome fall off the bridge moment to end the session. So yeah, guys, thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed my dual whip session. What do you want to see me use next? If there's any requests that people would like to watch, I'd be more than happy to try and come through with that. I do have a couple of magic builds coming that I've built. I'm going to show some build showcases and then some PvP with them. And before anybody gets like, oh, don't join the dark side, Chris, you know, don't magic spam and all that. They're not built to magic spam. You can do that if you want to, but they're not designed that way. And I'm going to show you what they're designed to do. And hopefully I'll get the blessing of the people who watch. And if I don't, you know, fuck it.